Between the 16th and 20th centuries, European powers attempted to control the rest of the world and all of its wealth. They were successful in controlling large parts of the America, Africa, Australia, and Asia. Some countries, however, were able to avoid colonization. Here are the top 5 countries that were never colonized by an empire. Number 5, Ethiopia. Ethiopia is the one and only country in Africa that could field a reasonable claim to have never been colonized. The core areas of Ethiopia appears to have been governed continuously for millennia by native Ethiopian rulers. It has always maintained a strong diplomatic and trading ties with Europe, especially Portugal and England. Italy tried to increase its territorial claims, but the Ethiopians defeated the Italian forces in 1896 AD. In 1935 AD, Italian fascist forces invaded and occupied Ethiopia, until Italy joined the Axis in 1939 AD, when British Commonwealth forces and Ethiopian patriots threw them out in 1941 AD. Ethiopia then became one of the allies for the rest of the Second World War. Long time ago, Ethiopia was an advanced, well-educated country with a powerful military, which had maintained its independence against numerous invaders throughout its history. Other than serving a short period as a fascist Italian colony, but did not take any government power. However, Ethiopia is now one of the poorest countries in Africa. Unlike many African countries, Ethiopia does not have large quantities of valuable resources like gold, silver, and fossil fuels, and European conquerors decided to focus on countries with more resources. Number 4, Japan. Japan, as compared to China and India, was small and out of the way. Japanese were also extreme isolationists and had very little interactions with outsiders. Europeans discovered Japan in 16th century and started to penetrate it, setting their trade posts and converting the locals to Christianity. However, Japanese rulers recognized the danger early on and started effective resistance. Japan used drastic measures. For example, they killed everyone who converted to Christianity, banned firearms, prohibited overseas travel, and so on and so forth. This way, Japan managed to isolate the country almost completely until the middle of 19th century. One important point was probably the unity of Japan. In other places, Europeans were able to colonize a country by taking sides in local conflicts or to enlist some people opposing to the rulers. In the 19th century, Japan was penetrated again. And again, the Japanese managed to do the thing that nobody else could. They quickly, very quickly, modernized their country themselves in less than half a century. When Russia later attempted to invade, Japanese forces were ready and won the Russo-Japanese War of 1905. During the Second World War, Japan took advantage to annex Korea and Manchuria, becoming the colonial power as well. Japan was one of the only Asian countries to escape Western colonization and becoming a colonizing power itself in the region. Number 3, Thailand. Thailand, well aware of its unique heritage that does not include a colonial legacy and often uses the phrase land of freedom to express pride in the fact that it has remained Thai-dominated since the first millennium BC. Despite immense pressure from European powers, Thailand escaped colonial rule by maintaining strong rulers and exploiting the tension between colonizing powers, namely France and Great Britain, which had spheres of influence across neighboring countries in Asia. Thailand served as a buffer between British colonies to the west and French colonies to the east. Both Britain and France wanted to avoid any disputes, and so Thailand acted as a buffer zone between them. Number 2, Bhutan. Bhutan is one of the few countries that has indisputably maintained complete sovereignty throughout history, even before its official consolidation as a nation-state in 1616 AD. Though it did have to fight several wars against the British during the 18th and the 19th century, subsequently losing bits of its territory and political influence outside of its borders. Bhutan remained entirely autonomous throughout the colonial period. Number 1. Nepal. Since Nepal was united by King Prithvinarayan Saha in 1744 AD, it has existed as a sovereign nation. From 1814 to 1816 AD, Nepali military forces fought in the Anglo-Nepalese War. The British East India Company, however, had larger troops and was able to gain control of approximately 30% of the territory in Nepal. In this case, the geographic features of the country worked to its favor and the mountains impeded the British passage. Unwilling to take on the rugged terrain, British forces left the rest of Nepal as an independent state, creating a border zone for British India. Additionally, the British Army was so impressed by the military ability of the Gorkha troops and recruited them for the colonial army. The famous warriors in the world, Gorkhas, are from Nepal. Having been protected by the bravest warriors of the world, Nepal does not have an independence day, as it was never colonized by any superpower of the world. Nepal was unconquerable from north during winters, because it snowed in the mountains, and from south during summer and monsoon because of malarial mosquitoes in Tarai region. The British in reality lost more soldiers to illness than at the war. Annexation of Nepal would bring them in close confrontation with the King Empire of vast and big China, which they try to avoid at all cost. This was also the reason why British left not just Nepal, but Bhutan unconquered as well.